this happen. So thank you all, and let's just take a look here. I'm going to start. Okay, so just to give everybody a little bit of general insight into the whole field of data security is very vast. Cybersecurity as well. It's obviously applied to both applications, software realm, and as well as the hardware realm. So the focus of this presentation is, as it says, basically mainly around electronic devices and when they near their end of life, or when they're nearing the time in which they're being turned over by whomever, if it's a corporation or an institution or an individual that is renewing their products and passing them along down the stream. But I think that in the course of preparing this presentation, I really wanted to lend a little bit of the discussion to some of the ideas and best practices around just data security itself, how important cybersecurity is for us today, what kind of an impact adversaries are making in the realm of cybersecurity, because this can be very, very costly, and it can be very detrimental to both your identity. It can be very detrimental to your business. It can put your business out of business. So it's really critical to have, as a business owner, even an individual, to have a solid understanding of how critical and crucial it is to have yourself and your business protected. Just a general overview here of what the topics that we're going to kind of discuss. We are going to look at just some of the consequences of data security and the breaches that have happened over the course in history. We can, once again, it's a very broad and a big realm. So we're just going to touch on a few of the facts that I've kind of just derived from what's been happening. Later on, we're going to also talk a little bit about some of the tips that businesses can incorporate to strengthen their ability to negate, fraudulent behavior or cyber attacks or vulnerabilities within their infrastructure, specifically IT infrastructure, because that's where we leave ourselves most vulnerable. We are as comfortable as it is to know that somebody's been in your home, that without you knowing, and you've been a victim of a crime. It's not a good feeling, nor is it a good feeling when your business is at stake. So we're going to go through a little bit about that. Thereafter, we're going to talk about some of the kind of just ever-changing dynamics of people working at home and people working abroad, because of what we've actually had to be what life has thrown us over this past year. So that's going to be just a little bit of a topic of discussion in terms of that, and just a little bit to garner some more awareness. That's going to be in conjunction with the concept of bringing your own device, or having employees bring their own devices to your workplace. And then thereafter, we're going to just kind of sum up what the best offense would be in terms of course, once again, negating any vulnerability in our operations. Then just the latter portion of this talk, I should say that, data security doesn't end, or isn't just obviously, it's not just based on what information is live and during the course of your day-to-day operations. It's also very critical when you, like I described previously, once all this equipment that you're using is being passed down and it's in the course of its end of its life, and then it's being perhaps donated to our organizations such as ours to contribute to a lot of good in the country and across the globe, because it is part of environmental sustainability and social development. So in any case, let's take it away here. Some of the consequences, generally speaking here, once again, I'd love to at the time of the day to to go as in depth as possible, but we're going to just get a general scope. There might be some people here that are just not too familiar with data security itself and how much of an impact it can have on somebody's business or life in general. So every day, hacks and threats are increasing. Business owners and just individuals and employees themselves need to be absolutely implementing the proper infrastructure to protect against these attacks. Some of the major consequences now, employee productivity is probably the least biggest consequence or least important relevant consequence. Revenue, reputation, and the loss of intellectual property are huge. Once again, like I previously described, this can just take a tremendous hit to one's organization, whether it's large or small. Your reputation, if, for example, some data is compromised that belongs to, is relevant to intellectual property or is relevant to financial statements, those are huge capitual losses that companies and organizations can occur over time, and they are definitely not going to be happy about that, and I don't think anybody else would be. So definitely just important to keep in mind, this is a very, very important topic. As just to give you a general example, the amount of data that we produce, the amount of data that we've produced up till the year 2000, we produced that amount of data every 2 days. So I think that just to put that in perspective, you can imagine how much contact and how many applications are being used in a given day, and what's where the trajectory is for the future. So yeah, so it's a big deal. Let's go into a little bit of some facts, just based around what cybersecurity is really costing us. So the average cost of a data breach is $3.86 million as of 2020. So this is once again calculating for the losses of security and IT professionals to basically remedy the problem and remedy the crisis. That is a big chunk of change. Now this is probably based on an enterprise that's on a much larger scale, but still, nevertheless, the losses are pretty much, I don't think there can be a cap, but at how much you can stand to lose. The total cost of a successful cyber attack is over $5 million. So about $300 per employee. Once again, these are just some of the facts that I've derived from more recently. But $5 million is a good chunk of change. I don't think anybody would be interested in having to manage that cost. So the two basically most popular attacks are malware and web-based attacks. Now more so in the environment, we've seen a lot of these file type attacks because people are working remotely, of course, and receiving files, and they don't understand. Maybe they just quickly open it up. It's like a doc file type virus. So adversaries can, as soon as this file is executed, they can then obviously begin to infiltrate your infrastructure, whether that be right on your personal computer or within the network that you're working on. So pretty big. It's getting bigger. Damage related to cybercrime is projected to hit $6 trillion by 2022. I believe it was Warren Buffett that mentioned, I'm sure that everybody's familiar with who that is, that cybercrime and cyber threats can become more dangerous than actual nuclear weapons. That is like just something, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around that, but realistically, as we move into this over the horizon of artificial intelligence and machine learning and things and all these basically all this technology that's making our lives easier and better, also exposing ourselves to more vulnerabilities. So stuff to just keep in mind, the big picture. It is important. Going to just kind of hitting home here more recently, October of 2019 has been quite a while ago now, but nevertheless, so this was the biggest breach in Canadian history. I'm sure everybody was familiar with it. This just goes to show that no real entity or no real institution, no organization is really completely immune to being a victim of you know, a cyber attack or having their data security compromised. I myself was actually a potential victim of this because I had actually been at a Life Labs location prior, and I received an email stating that my information may have been compromised. The idea here is too, though while all this information was being held ransom, you know, or Life Labs had, you know, goes to pay that ransom. There's no guarantee that this data is still safe. We're not negotiating with really hardworking people, quite obviously, right? So, nevertheless, you know, like, hey, you know, the milk has spilled, but that doesn't mean that it's really completely been sopped up. So, you know, just to keep this in mind, anytime you're conducting any of your personal matters on your computer, within your business, or vice versa, just, you know, it doesn't really matter where you're inputting your data. It can always be vulnerable. So that's something to keep in mind, just to better protect yourself. So now we can kind of look at some of the tips, just general concepts that businesses or people that are entering the world of business, whether that be sole proprietors or partnerships or corporations and enterprises. Number one, train your employees in security principles. I would recommend exactly conveying the message that I've just conveyed to you, that this is very serious business. It is not something that matters to be taken lightly. They can be very, very costly. And I know that, you know, we as business owners or executives, or it's difficult to convey a message to somebody that is responsible in a different department, because, you know, maybe their value systems are different than ours, of course. So, but, you know, that's more of a in-depth management concept. But once again, very important. Invest in data security. So there's a whole gamut of companies and organizations, software application providers that will offer you some framework to basically secure your data. I don't get paid to endorse any of those providers, but nevertheless, it is important. And there's a wealth of information online to kind of navigate and circumnavigate to find who's going to be the right fit for you. Creating a mobile device action plan that's going to be kind of lend itself to a little bit more the part of discussion that I'm going to touch on later in this presentation. But that's very important. Create backups of critical data and purge accordingly. So the saying goes, data does not exist unless it exists in two places. So it speaks for itself, right? I can always be confident that Samsung or iOS, where it's got my cloud information and they've got all my pictures and things are going to be all fine and dandy should I lose my phone. Or for example, some iCloud provider, you know, takes all my data, or I should say, you know, cloud server takes my data, and then I'm you know, everything's fine. Back up your data, keep copies of it, keep them safe, purge the data that you don't have, that you don't have any use for. Within some of those programs, there is also some framework that's actually based around digitally shredding the data. So even after it's deleted, it's still you know, accordingly disposed of. So control physical access to computers and create unique user IDs. One ID for, you know, the front desk is probably not a good idea if there's multiple people there. Making use of those computers, one ID, one password, you know, that just kind of speaks to itself. You know, the more complicated the identification process is, the more you can attribute accountability and the more secure you're going to be. Secure your Wi-Fi networks as well. One very positive note that I'm going to make in terms of Wi-Fi signals specifically is when you are implementing a Wi-Fi network in your business or in your home, it is not very, I don't recommend that you indicate to anybody that can pick up that signal of who you are. So if I was to say, I am, you know, John's convenience store down the street on Robson, do I, you know, hey, John's convenience Wi-Fi, right? So anybody that's, you know, that can gain access knows that it's you, knows whom they're dealing with, whether it's worth it for them to hack in and try and you know, basically steal all your information and expose you in any vulnerability that you have, right? So kind of important. I would just specify just a direct SSID, alphanumeric ID that's not, you know, you're not able to decipher who it belongs. So payment cards, employee best practices, same kind of idea. Don't store company credit cards, don't store your own credit cards into applications that you do not feel are safe. The smartphone, you know, providers such as Samsung and Apple are liking to make it a lot more, you know, make it a lot easier to pay for things. Those, you know, those entities themselves probably incorporate a very high security standard, but don't employ any, you know, safe payment methods with applications that you don't trust, or people, organizations that you don't have any trust with. You eliminate the chances. It's a little extra time to retrieve the data, but it's not worth the headache or the problem. To sum it up here, kind of what I've talked on previously: limit employee access to data information, limit the authority to install programs. That's also kind of huge, right? You don't want to have somebody coming by there and just kind of having a free reign on your computer and within your network. Excuse me. Passwords and authentication kind of go back in part and parcel with the creation of user IDs. Once again, there are passwords. Passwords can be easily broken forcibly through a number of different methods that an adversary can use. So, you know, the 8 to 10 character, alphanumeric character with symbols as well as recommended. You can probably find a lot of wealth of information on password strength online and figure out what works best for you. But once again, you know, don't make the password. Don't make the password, you know, Snoopy or my dog or whatever like that, things like that, of course. So yeah, just to kind of sum that up, small, maybe applicable to small business, maybe applicable to larger organizations, maybe not so much. Maybe some of these things are already in place, but just gives us some general insight. Moving on here now, with the course of the world events in the past year, it's clearly evident that people have been working a lot remotely. You know, it's been a huge challenge for a lot of people, and there have been a lot of setbacks. People, you know, enjoy the opportunity to stay in their home and conduct their business, but there are some very big disadvantages. I'm just touching on this just as a simple fact that it's been the course of this past year. Do I believe that remote workforce is going to be more present in the future? To a small degree. I think that corporations and business cultures and social cultures within the workplace are very important, and we certainly will be back, in my opinion. But should this apply to perhaps you are an individual that works remotely a lot, or you work for an organization such as a real estate brokerage, where you're using your computer often in different places, or hot desking, it's pretty important. You know, this is a general factoid. 68% of business leaders, you know, feel that cybersecurity risks are increasing, right? So just like what I said, it's getting it's exponential. This was an interesting fact as well. The top malicious email attachments are doc and dot files. Of course, executables are up there as well. But this it's the same concept, right? Like, you know, phishing emails or emails that are being cloaked as emails from within the organization by someone else's name. It's happened. I've seen them before. They've been directed to me prior as well, and some of my staff. Of course, we were able to curb that problem quickly. But somebody that's not completely aware is a little bit stressed out, from all this whole scenario. It leaves us more vulnerable. And 95% of cybersecurity breaches are caused by human error. Makes sense. We all make mistakes. We are not perfect, and these computers and these systems basically are just doing what we tell them to do. So they're only gonna, whatever you input into it, its map, it's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna take you here, and I'm gonna stop here, or I'm gonna go in here, and things like that. So yeah, just be always consciously aware, and always grow your awareness as you go along. Now moving on here, this is just once again a little bit of more detail on the factors and risks around this remote work concept. So be it like I had said previously, there's so much more of this, because criminals are not low intelligence scored individuals. They're very sophisticated criminal minds that know when to expose people for their vulnerabilities. When people are in times of uncertainty, people are in time of fear, people are in time of being overly stressed, people are, that's exactly when it's their time to strike. And that's what you've seen over this whole, the course of this past year in just the influx of all this type of behavior. So, the surfaces that they're being, like, just basically the ways that they can access more sensitive information has changed, right? They don't have to just basically penetrate the network itself, wherever the organization is based, but people's homes and people's home networks. People are distracted once again. It's spending all this time. People are in their homes once again, away from their computer, distracted. Someone happens to come by. Somebody comes home. Things like that. The computer's left on. Documents are left open. Those are the types of things that you really have to be aware of. If you have malicious content installed in your computer, somebody can really gain control of your and command and control of your computer when you are not looking at it, and they are going to know when you aren't looking at it, because nothing is going to be happening. So please be diligent and just consciously aware that your computer should be password protected, and you should be implementing all those safe practices, whether that's by the help of a third-party provider, security provider for your computer itself or for your organization. Definitely very key. So it's difficult, but that's life, and we're going to go along, I'm sure, just fine. But limiting the chance and opportunity for these unruly people is really the key issue here. So yeah, lots of stuff to keep in mind. Different angles and different endpoints are multiplied. Negate the problem as best you can. So going back just a little bit more on this remote working in remote areas, I should say, remote places. Don't conduct if possible, do not conduct any work or personal matters on public Wi-Fi networks. The streaming of YouTube or streaming of any streaming programs such as Crave or whatever is probably a lot more safe than going on there and doing your taxes at the airport. So yeah, once again, make use of a hotspot and encrypt your web connection. That's something that you can learn more about. Keep your work data on work computers. It's very, it's convenient. Oh, I left my computer in my office. I'll just log in on my one at home. Not a good idea, right? You're going to be meshing the data and the security vulnerabilities together, and people are just not conscious at home. But I hope that the awareness is growing, and people can really do their due diligence and whatnot. So if you this is kind of general stuff, but the use of a privacy screen when you're using your laptop is important. I mean, especially if you're, well, travel is not so much popular right now, but Europe is very popular for that type of crime, right? Just peering over people's shoulders, using all sorts of different devices to basically retrieve and steal data from people while they're working on their computers. So encrypt a lot of the stuff that you've got. If you're sending it through to an email, if it's sensitive data, it's probably a good idea to encrypt it. That's of course goes for obvious things, as parameters such as financials or organizational plans and strategies, private and confidential documents. If you are sharing those documents and they become exposed, you most certainly will be liable for that. Should you want to leave yourself vulnerable in that way, I don't think that's an overly great idea. And just general stuff, right? This is just think common practice. Don't leave your computer in your car. It's not really a comical scenario, but you know, it's anytime. Crime is very prevalent here in Vancouver. It's prevalent in a lot of major city centers, especially if you're traveling remotely or unaware. Just do the safe hedge and just have your computer with you. Have it locked, have it stowed, put it in a safe. Don't leave it in your car. Don't go for breakfast and leave your convertible open with your car and your computer in your trunk, things like that. So in any case, now moving on, I'm just going to touch a little bit on, I don't know if everybody is familiar, but in business, we have what's known as the bring your own device concept, where individuals will bring their own devices and use them to conduct business on them, whether they are smartphones, tablets, or laptop computers. This comes with a lot of advantages or disadvantages as well, but you kind of have to derive what's more suitable for you. It depends on what kind of what kind of a business you're in and how many people you employ. But the problem is that the data that moves across different devices and networks is increasing security risk, right? So it's being passed from an iPhone to a Samsung Android phone to Google Pixel, being passed from a number of obviously the number of the devices that I've just described. So more endpoints for somebody to access your data and compromise it. So some of the options here within this idea is that you can lock down the devices by agent-based mobile device management. So therefore, all the devices will be under the ownership of the organization or enterprise, and then they can just be locked down specifically to prevent obviously theft or unauthorized use. So that's one option. Potential problems can arise, though, absolutely, and if the mobile environment is heterogeneous and or contains disparate devices and OS, so a little bit of privacy there. Once again, the leap from iOS to Android. But yeah, I mean, this is specific to companies that employ a large number of people, and that people come and go, and those devices are very sensitive, and they're full of all of that important information and sensitive information. Now, the mobile application management is a different option. So whatever business that an enterprise is in, this is going to be a lot more relevant to some than others. But mobile application management is designed to give the basically manage and secure all the data through the use of an application, right? And in that case, it can be controlled a lot more securely, but does not cover, this concept does not cover cloud apps such as Gmail, Dropbox, and Stack, right? So if you're using those applications to conduct your business, then that's something to definitely keep in mind. As small business owners, probably don't have the budgets to incorporate mobile application management. People that are on the bigger side of the bigger enterprise then obviously something that might be worth looking into. And the last one in there is, in terms of BYD, is just the agentless mobile security. So in this case, everything would be conducted like by proxy and then funneled through a security provider, right? And then that way it would be filtered. Everything would be filtered and protected as it travels and as it's communicated. So yeah, one key point there. Also, just gonna compile a list of governmental regulations that are relevant to your firm, and make sure that deployment will not be impeded by users that want to keep their data private. So, you know, that's like I said, it's a combing and value scoring process of where the value really belongs. The fact of the matter is, in terms of BYOD, is that if people are using their own devices, where, you know, corporations and organizations are unable to determine if that device has been jailbroken, for example, if it's been rooted, right? So that's going to leave it very vulnerable to hacks and all types of malicious behavior. So yeah, I mean, something to definitely consider. And as well as, like I said, if people once people are being employed and moving on, we have also, it's very important for us to make sure that that data is safe. So yeah, moving along, basically, just to summarize, what the best offense would be in terms of this part of the program, where I'm talking more about actually cybersecurity specifically and data security for an organization. Get familiar with what I just talked about. Get familiar with the disposal process, which is what I'm going to talk about. And, you know, take the time to understand what it entails. Take the time to research what your needs are and where you stand, you know, and what kind of solutions you can come up with. Many resources exist online and through many institutions in North America. Thankfully, the big blessing through the use of this technology, just as we are today, is a lot of this learning can be done remotely, and some of these strong minds throughout Silicon Valley and you know, throughout the U.S., continental U.S., are just brilliant people that can lend you some of the most cutting-edge device to protect yourself. Prioritize concrete value. So, of course, right, like assign yourself a value score and where everything, you know, everything is laid down for you. What does it mean for me, and where should I invest my time and effort and money? It's easy to get lost in this. It is a big, you know, and very vastly complicated concept. But take it easy, take it slow, and figure out what are the dimensions of the potential and the feasibility. What is it going to do for me? What is it important? Well, it surely is important, but we need to make sure that, you know, as business owners, I'm sure everybody is aware that we need to manage our resources as effectively and keeping preservation in mind. So yeah, once again, acknowledging the internal compatibility gap. So, you know, what you need to do to evolve to accomplish what you're planning on implementing in terms of the securing your data. There's a big difference if you have the ability. Once again, any sort of analytics and things of that nature are normally difficult to fund, because, you know, is in terms of just initial growth as a business, you know, we all want to make the right step in the right direction, and we all want to make sure that we prosper, and we all want to make sure that that happens for years to come. But one of the things that's really important about data security in general is nobody really has a real big concern about it until something happens. That is the kind of common human nature that we all have. But our intellectual selves try to overrule that. And then the idea here is to be cognizant of that and to negate that problem accordingly. Just because it hasn't happened to you doesn't mean that it won't. And if you're better protected, you're going to be able to negate the whole process. And you know, and it might be determinant of your actual corporate existence and your reputation as a business leader and your reputation as a brand and a you know, just a player in the field, right? So last point, set up a pilot project if you can, right? Not a bad idea. You can take, I don't know, a couple months to kind of just maybe assess what your needs are, what your vulnerabilities are, and then bring it to some people, external people, internal people. We've all got, like, once again, we've got people that are graduating from prestigious universities that have an amazing amount of talent and capability in terms of data science and analytics, and giving us a better idea of how we can protect ourselves. So yeah, something to keep in mind, take note of. Some of the you know, security providers can do an assessment for you and figure out what it is you really need. Now, just to the latter portion of this session, we need to just talk a little bit about the hardware side, right? So data security for risk of individuals and fraud and identity theft. You know, we talked about email address, I guess password specifically. Those ones are the, you know, password protection, deleting of your information. Deleting, simply throwing it in the recycling bin and deleting it is not completely enough. So, you know, while you're using your computer, while you're making use of the hardware that you have, complete the deletion process. Make sure that the access is hardened, right? Because even if somebody was to gain access and there was nothing on the screen, everything was deleted, that doesn't mean to say that they can't access your information. Once again, these people are very sophisticated and they will do absolutely everything that they can to retrieve any sort of value, you know, in a criminal sense, to you know, compensate themselves. But yeah, in the latter, you know, part of the slide here too. So when it comes time to get to let your equipment move on, you have several options, as we all do. If we would like to just simply recycle it, it becomes obsolete. You know, that can be an option for people. Reuse is one of the most important things, and that's what we're all about, which is fantastic because you can essentially pass your device along into the hands of somebody that doesn't have the means to purchase a new computer, or whether that's hardware specifically. We have a long list of startups and entrepreneurs and non-profit groups that need this equipment, that it's more than relevant to their needs. And you know, putting it into their hands can be an existential impact, and it's really a big social kind of responsibility we really lend to each other throughout life. And you know, just going to show how much we've really been brought together in the light of the political landscape and everything that's taken place this past year. Our programs, which I can talk a little bit about in a short time here, have had a tremendous impact. So I really encourage people, before they actually go to discard their computer, to determine its potential for reuse, and reach out to us, and you know, and make sure that it has a chance of making a difference in someone's life, because it's tremendous, right? And it's really rewarding. So we as individuals, and also as business owners, or you know, leaders, business leaders, organizational you know, department heads, doesn't matter. So yeah, something to definitely think about. So yeah, like, if anybody's not familiar with what we do, just to kind of give you just a general oversight, we are the Electronic Recycling Association. So we're based around a two-part mission, which is comprised of environmental sustainability and economic social development cause, right? So as the course in time, computers are evolving, technology is evolving very, very rapidly. new devices are on the forefront almost seems like every 3 months. You know, compatibility is changing, features are changing, applications are changing. The needs that people have as their business grow quite rapidly. Technology needs to keep up with it. So we will work with institutions, municipalities, governments, small businesses, anybody across the country that has got some IT equipment that they're looking to move on, like to have it move on, will come to us, and then we would determine if there's a remainder of life, and in that case, basically reprogram and refurbish that piece of equipment, then offer it to one of two, basically two channels, basically small businesses and entrepreneurs that are once again looking to enter the space and don't have the means for new equipment. So we will offer it to them, as well as a long list of non-profit groups and charities that simply don't have the budgets. They're doing a lot of great things, and they're putting a lot of people's lives back on track. People that are victims of domestic abuse, and women's shelters, and nonprofit groups based around helping the blind, helping people that are marginalized, people that don't have the means to get what they need to sustain their life, and make that take that step in growing. It's when you're down low, it's a harder, it's a more difficult slope to climb. So we have done a lot of contribution to many causes. You can find that all on our website. It's really fantastic stuff. We've helped over 366 organizations this past year for a total of close to 4,000 devices, which is about 7 devices a day, which is tremendous, and we're super happy about that. So if you're hanging on to your old stuff and you're looking to get rid of it, we can definitely accommodate, in the sense that we can contribute to what I've just mentioned, which is a tremendous cause, or equal causes, or we can basically derive what the material that is left in the, raw material, and recycle it down the recycling stream, and then put it back into new material. So we basically keep our planet, more habitable and sustainable. And then basically the tail end of this whole process, but it's the most important, is keeping your data safe. So we have a data erasure program that is up to the highest government standard, which is also approved by NAID, which is North American Institution for Data Destruction. And we will just physically destroy your data for you by the means of a large hard drive shredder, which is depicted here, which is really neat. People can come to our facilities, any one number of our facilities across the country, in each of the prospective provinces, and have their hard drive shredded. We're actually doing an event as we speak here with the Abbotsford Police Department based around fraud prevention. People all around the Abbotsford area are coming to us today to have their hard drives shredded and to donate their equipment, to have it move on to somebody that can use it, which is fantastic. The Abbotsford Police Department has been impeccable in hosting and working with us for the past 3 years. I think it's maybe 4 years now. The North Vancouver RCMP is going to be working with us as well in the near future. As Tyra had mentioned previously, there's a long list of cooperative, organizations that are taking part in this. So it's all there, and it's all important. We can help you with facilitating the whole process. We also offer a lengthy inventory reporting services. We accept a large gamut of IT equipment and electronic equipment per se. Basically, that's anything that's electronic. We will help you dispose of. So if you are new and you have not heard of us before, please, I encourage you all to check out what we've been up to over this past year, because it's really exciting stuff. We're on all those social platforms. You can come to our website and check it all out. We have also implemented a program which was known as the lending laptops program. So when in the light of the immediate restrictive measures across the country, we immediately took action and began to lend some laptop computers, out to the people that really needed them to conduct their schoolwork, conduct their businesses that didn't have the means to access to one. And a lot of people, especially some marginalized youth, don't have access to computers that they're in their homes, or they would have to go to a municipality such as the library or a school or post-secondary institution to make use of the computers. So yeah, once again, very exciting. And if you'd like to learn more, do check out our YouTube channel as well. There's a lot of great stuff on there, and some great coverage of everything that we've been involved in the news throughout, once again, across the country, which in each and every city. We have partnered with some ministers of legislative assembly in donating equipment and partner donations. We're always looking to basically find points of synergy for both our organization and others, and see how we can both work together to promote each other's cause and each other's mission. So, once again, I encourage anybody that's got any inquisition, please reach out to me on LinkedIn or send me an email. I'd be more than happy to answer any of the questions that you have, or any facilitate any of the programs that we offer for you. Just to sum things up completely, fraud prevention is certainly important. I think that even just in a general case, not to mention like how largely affected organizations can be, but an individual themselves as a victim of fraud, it can take a number of years and time to basically recover from that. So do your due diligence, please. Do the best you can. We all want to see you prosper. We all want to see you grow. And it's been a great opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you once again to the Better Business Bureau for facilitating this. And I look forward to any other opportunities that we have, that we can work together and get our messages out to people within the community in Southern Alberta, specifically in this case, and not only that, across the country. So without further ado, that is it for me. I've gone and opened the floor to any questions or comments that anybody has. And
that was so great, Andrew. Thank you. There's some really great questions coming in just on the chat here. The first one is from Star. If they can't get a device to ERA for hard drive shredding, what's the best way to do it yourself? Or is there ways that people could even ship the device to you if maybe with COVID they couldn't physically come?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can have the hard drive. You can basically have the hard drives shipped to us directly, or we can arrange for that, just depending on a personal, a one-on-one basis. Some people have a lot of our contributors in the interior of British Columbia. We work with a lot of organizations and governing bodies, particularly within the Okanagan Valley in northern British Columbia, where they will actually just have the equipment shipped to us, and then we will take care of it here. So just to lend itself to the other question that's came in here, yes, and we do. I obviously didn't mention that, but it's definitely the most important, and we provide a certificate of destruction. So that's going to outline any details of what equipment that we received for you, the serial number, and confirmation that it's certified confirmation that has been destroyed. If the machine is taken on site, or somebody comes to one of our facilities, not so much really the case right now, of course, but they can just witness it being destroyed. If they need an inventory as well, just for personal records, we're more than happy to offer that too. Yeah, and I mean, as Jim has mentioned here too, that Apple does have a buyback program for the devices. I definitely understand that, and these corporations are obviously in a free market. They are operating as enterprise, so they're going to market themselves accordingly. However, the devices that we receive are in kind, right? So you are basically doing some social responsibility in the future, and you're contributing to something that might make a really big difference in the world. And when we speak about social development and economic development, one of those things is just people are just not aware of which direction the world is really headed. We see we're flooded with so much information of the media and all these things that are happening, and of course, it's directed with a certain strategy, of course. But yeah, I just think given the light of the situation, and just as a ethical and as an ethical and person of integrity, as a business leader, I think that it's really important to keep in mind the social responsibility cause, both for the environment and for our future. So yeah, just to touch on.
Absolutely, that's great. Thank you for those questions. Just out of respect for everybody's time, we're just coming to the end. Mary,
Sure.
I would love to just pass it over to you really quickly, and then we'll end this. And if you'd like to get in contact with BBB or Andrew, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to facilitate that. So thank you again, Andrew.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, it looks like we're right on time here, so that's great.
Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andrew. And thanks, Tyra. I think everybody can hear me. We'll go ahead and pop a couple of links in the chat box as well, just so that you can find out more on BBB, some of our scams. You can check it out at bbb.org/risk report to see some of our top 10 scams over this past year. And as Andrew said, prevention is key. So we need to make sure. Andrew, I know that I know many teachers who have worked with ERA this past year to get devices in the hands of youth. So thank you for your work. Thank you for taking time to be with us today. And yeah, key, of course, in prevention is education. So if you fall victim to scam, don't be afraid to speak up, use your voice, educate somebody else. And check us out at bbb.org/risk report to see some of those scams. And I know the links to ERA will be updated there as well. Thank you, Tyra. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. What a fabulous day this is. And we've got some other great presentations going on all month long for Fraud Prevention Month. You can check us out at bbb.org to take a look at it, whether you are in Calgary, Southern Alberta, or across Canada. We have lots of events going on that are here to inform, educate, and make sure that we're preventing scams in your area. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a fantastic day. Andrew, thank you so much. That was such valuable information. I was thinking of all the devices that I've got sitting somewhere in my house that probably aren't protected, that I need to make sure I'm recycling. That's
excellent. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, do definitely take note of it and work effectively to protect yourself. I'm really happy that you did.
Absolutely. So appreciate that. Thanks so much for the information, and thank you for your time. And for everybody, and for investing in yourself and your education, thank you for joining us today.